Nice and easy one this week. I'm still in the Giants gear because fucking woohoo! Let's go, let's go. I'm on the fucking hype train. It's possible. The finals are possible. The finals are possible. What a time to be alive. I'm so tired. I'm so done. I'm so wrecked and I just need to fucking get this over and done with. I got too much shit to do. Too many beers to drink. Let's jump straight back into the recap from last week. Starting with the best result of the round. Probably, it's actually not. It's kind of a disappointing result, but us, the Giants versus the Bombers. This was a fucking cool game to be at as a Giants fan. The Bombers managed to keep it like interesting maybe for the first half really. Like if they were kicking straight it would have been a dead tight game. They were kicking fucking dog shit, but they had more like shots on goal than us in the first half. I think definitely the first quarter for sure, but our accuracy was fucking something to behold. You know, I think we had 7 straight until we missed one on the 8th shot. So the check side from Riccardi is like one of the coolest kicks I've seen all year. Cadman hit a really nice drop punt from the pocket on a really tight angle. I like how our team's firing without a few of our stars. You know, we had Hogan out, we had Sam Taylor out, and both our defense and forward lines managed to, I think, put some pretty compelling football together, all things considered. It sort of didn't look like we were getting out of second gear, and I sort of called that we weren't going to smash them. Yes, we beat them much more comfortably than the margin I predicted, but it wasn't one of those like emphatic, like fucking blitz, balls to the wall type of fucking performances where you just are blown away by how fucking well you're doing. It wasn't like that at all. That's not to say that it wasn't a good performance, I don't think. Like I said, I don't think that anyone necessarily underperformed. Finn Callanan had a pretty good game. Bedford had a pretty good game, which, you know, I was calling for. And look, in terms of Essendon, it's a shitty spot to be in for them. Injuries out, you know. I feel like their game structure isn't very like threatening. Like the way that they play isn't very like punishing a lot of the time. Maybe if they were kicking straight, it would feel more imposing. Himmelberg and Leaker played really good games, but I think the highlight was actually the package, was Jake fucking Stringer, you know? It's fun as fuck being a Giants fan at any football game because like there's 4 of you in the stadium and the rest of the people there are all like the opposition team. And with Essendon this was no different. There was a little bit more Giants at this one than I actually expected, but like as usual, you're surrounded by the enemy and fucking hearing them boo and cheer at fucking any time the ball went near Jake Stringer was just really fun to like cheer for him as someone that doesn't really rate him as high as maybe like some people do. I think that he's proving his use more and more week by week and like fitting into the team more and more, but I'm not entirely sold on the package. But holy fuck, I was at the game. I was hands down at the game. It was funny as fuck. I was sat next to this little kid that kept calling him a traitor every time he went near the ball, and his dad would be like, he's not a traitor, and the little kid would be like, bloody traitor. It was funny. It was fucking good. I don't know. It was a fun game to be at, but nothing too incredible. We got the 4 points. That's all that matters. Lions and Dogs. Look, this was a good game, and the Dogs were gate-kept from the elite once again. You know, they seem to just have trouble beating teams within the top 8 that aren't us. I think we are the only team in the top 8 that they have beaten, and they have a really good game, like, style matchup against us. They tend to do pretty well whenever they play us, so who knows if that's just them having our number a little bit, or they were just in the best form at that time. But yeah, this trend seems to be a pretty damaging one for a team that I had like finals hopes for and was saying they're my sneaky dark horse, man, and now it's not looking like that is going to be the case. You never know, the Suns could fucking continue this form slump, or can you call it a form slump when they just beat Collingwood prior? I don't know. But anyway, one of those top 9 teams is going to miss the 8, and it's looking like it's probably the Dogs at the moment. I would have said Freo beforehand, but they're fucking proving me wrong. So yeah, I don't know, you know, good on Brisbane. I think their inaccuracy in front of goal is something to be worried about, but not necessarily something to say that they aren't that top 4 material, I guess, is probably the takeaway here. Hawks and Port, look, this started pretty fun, and then it sort of turned into like just a solid and strong display of like what Hawthorn can be. Hawthorn can be damaging. They're going to be a team around that finals time that's going to cause a few upsets, beat a few of the teams that I think they might not be tipped to beat. I think that they're very fun and they're very dangerous when it's their day. They're looking like they're getting a bit of form back at the right time of the year. Port, whatever, their season's shot. It's like so much shit. It's just down the fucking hill. Jason Horne-Francis going out. I think the rest of the year he's gone. That's gonna suck. You know, that makes this showdown a little bit less interesting, but not too much you can say for this one again. Like, you sort of expected Hawks to win, and they got that win, which just proves and solidifies their chances a little bit towards the end of the year. Gangers and Swans. Look, North, it was okay. How many fucking fucking times are you gonna hear this though? 3 quarters of okay footy, 1 quarter that lost in the game emphatically. If that quarter happened at any point during the game, although it usually happens after 3/4 time, they lose and they lost and they keep losing. And fucking Richmond having a better year than North has materialized. Richmond are currently higher than North on the ladder and are likely to finish higher than North on the ladder. So that's a very, very strange spot to be in for the club. And I just hope that the criticisms pour onto Alistair Clarkson. That's all I'm really going to say. I'm not going to get too deep into it here. I've got a lot of thoughts on it, but I kind of want to see how the next couple of weeks play out, see what North bring to the table now. But this was just another fucking nothing game where they're in strife. They're in a whole lot of strife. And the Swans do look a different team. They do look a bit more dangerous now that they got a few back, and they seem to be playing a bit more exciting footy at the moment. Just whether that be form coincidence coinciding with a few people getting back, but the brattle of the bridge has got me concerned. So that's something to note about the Swan form. Blues and the D's. Look, I got to admit, I thought Melbourne would be stronger. Pretty good win for Carlton. It's not really like a super strong performance from either side necessarily, I'd say, but getting those 4 points in the position Carlton is in, that's something that matters. And internally, I hope that can sort of shift maybe the mentality that seems to be plaguing a few of those boys at the moment. And for Melbourne, it kind of just comes as like a bit of a slap on the, not fucking slap on the wrist, what would be the word? Key in the guts. Like, they were starting to put together some pretty compelling form during the middle of the year there. Not some finals form, but like something that separates them from the dog shit that they were putting up at the beginning of the year. And I'm not saying that they're slipping back to that quality or that level, but they're slipping, that's for sure. They've been inaccurate, they've had a lack of punish, their ball movement along the ground has been choppy. Like it just seems like they don't have a real strong identity at the moment, and that the core skeleton that they've been trying to operate under is getting old and sore and sort of just creaking and flaking away. But good on Carlton for getting this win. It's not going to change the tune on your season necessarily. It's not like a big scalp or anything like that, but it is 4 points where they're for what they're worth. Richmond and Eagles, didn't tip this one. I thought that West Coast would be fucking strong enough at home to push this one and get their second win for the year, but no, the Tigers had something else to say about that. Maurice Rioli, I thought no one could beat the Libba chase down tackle, but this cunt, holy shit. I've never seen Jets like it. This lad from the back pocket just zooming, just flying along. I don't know what's running through his veins, but it could melt steel beams, mate. That's all I'm gonna say. That kid has some fucking jets. He was launching along the ground. It was awesome. It was fucking sick. 2 of the best rundown tackles this year have come from Richmond. Have come from this like bottom 3 side that wasn't predicted to win a fucking game or whatever. I predicted them to like do really shitty. Now they've surprised me and they've surprised a lot of other people. I think that they're really putting some compelling form together. It might not be, it's not winning them every week, but they're this fun fucking team, performing higher than they were expected to, than they probably should be, if that makes sense. Like North should be outperforming Richmond, and Richmond are by far the more fun, explosive and dangerous team. Like North have better skills, sure. Doesn't really fucking matter when you can't execute them. I'm really liking what this young, fun team from Richmond's putting together, and holy fuck, that chase down tackle, something different. Rest in peace to Rest Coast though. Rest in Coast for piss. Team. Cats and the Saints. Well, the Saints made this a pretty decent game. I sort of, I didn't see Geelong dropping one at this time of year in this way, like they lost to them earlier in the year. I feel like the Cats had to be the professional outfit that they were, get this job done at home. Convincing, it's all it is. And then unconvincing, the Pies and the Dockers. Like, I'm not here to say that Collingwood have fucked their chances, but it gives you those nerves of, wow, you did really good at the start of the year to find solidify your position on the ladder and solidify your dominance and your game plan and find the form of a few of your younger players and your system, get that very well tuned. And by and large, they're still the best example of that in the competition. Some like a team that has just this impeccable system that it doesn't really matter what players you're utilizing from your list. You're showing that depth in your game plan ability and in the way that your players are bought into your style and your brand and whatever the fuck. But it's just a little nerve-wracking thinking that, holy shit, they've dropped a few on the trot. Surely they're not about to cull and tumble their way out of finals, and it's not going to happen. But that top spot is important for a team like Collingwood. I feel like the top 4 definitely, but that top spot would really help their list. And Freo and fucking Patrick Voss, for what it's worth, that was a great last quarter. That was a great performance. It was a very electric game. It felt like there was a lot in it. They're not going away. I kind of want them to. I kind of want them to just drop off and fall out of the race, but they're not. They're doing the exact opposite, scraping and fighting to stay in with everything that they've got. And it's fun. It's producing some fun footy, which is good. That's my main criticism about about Freo is that they're generally like a boring team to watch, generally kind of inconsistent, but they're finding this form late in the year when it matters the most, and it's paying off. So yeah, I'm kind of liking what they're putting out at the moment. I still don't like them. Fuck them, and I hope the Pies, well, they've already lost, but I don't know. And then the last game of the round was the Suns and Crows, which I predicted would be game of the round. And let's not sugarcoat this thing. It was not that. It was underwhelming from Gold Coast. Very underwhelming. The Suns kind of melted underneath the unbelievable pressure of the Crows that were early on. After keeping Collingwood goalless for the first half of the game, the Suns then went out the next week and were goalless themselves against the Crows. Kind of interesting, isn't it? I don't really know what went wrong here, but it just felt off. Everything felt off. Daniel Rioli's injury, that really hurts, especially this time of the year, considering how important he is for like that system and how they operate at the team. This performance, to me, it doesn't necessarily undermine what they did to Collingwood the week prior, but it highlights how, like, if Collingwood was kicking straight, they wouldn't have had that same dominance over them. Yes, it would. It was still. I still think they were playing better field football, but you know, I don't know. It just highlights that there's some patches and some problems at the Suns. God, you'd hope they make finals. Whether or not they do well in it is kind of regardless, but you just, I don't know. But this, again, solidifies Adelaide, is similar to that Dogs win, as a full-on fucking threat, capable of beating the best of the best, you know? The Dogs, sure, maybe not in that top creme of the crop, but they're thereabouts top 8 side, and Adelaide seem to be doing really well against those matchups, and I think they've got Collingwood coming forward soon. That'll be the one that I'm most interested in, but just very solid stuff from the Crows all around. They're looking dangerous, and fuck it, I'm happy. They're fun. They play a really cool round of footy. The three-headed monster seems to be working, and yeah, it was great round overall. I don't know, it wasn't like lights out for footy, but it was fun. Giants got the win, so I've been coaxing off that one for a long time. Max Holloway got the win, you know, Dustin didn't die, so that's the entire analysis. I haven't got enough time to think. I haven't got enough brain power to think, to be honest. This thing's kind of melting away over time. I wonder what could be causing that. So let's jump over to the tips for this week. Starting with a bit of Thursday footy fun. We've got the Hawks versus Carlton at the G. I'm leading the Hawks, and I'm gonna, again, conservative tip, 25 points. I see this being about 4 or 5 goals. You know, like this is Sam Doherty retirement game, I think, because of cancer and getting fucking old, which is fair enough. He's an undeniable legend of the club, and it's kind of probably for the best that they're moving him on, in my opinion at least. It's just hard to see the Hawks losing this, you know? It could be exciting and it could be close, but I feel like the Hawks are serious, and if they are, they shouldn't drop this one, and that's just sort of where I'm leaning. Again, it's a good win for Carlton last week, but it doesn't do much internally, I don't think. And to me, again, as much of a shame as it is, and as much as you don't want to be fucking saying this every week, the sort of the metric that you should be judging Carlton's success on for this week is their effort and intensity over the 4 quarters. How long can they like be in the fight? You want them to be winning that fight, but at this stage it kind of is just a question of how long can they scrap. So fingers crossed that's a while, and fingers crossed they keep everything interesting. But yeah, I just can't seem to go against Hawthorn in this one. I feel like they get it done without having to push too hard. Maybe Carlton get a lead out early or something, but the Hawks scrape it back pretty easy in my head, in my visions. Then we got 2 games on Friday night, the first of which being the Dogs versus the Bombers at Marvel. Gonna go with the Dogs. They fucking brutalized Essendon last time they versed each other, and I feel like it's gonna be a similar thing. If the Dogs are getting into finals, they're gonna need a massive percentage, and these are the games where they build percentage, and they do manage to put teams like this away, as we saw earlier in the year. So I'm kind of expecting like a pretty brutal pumping, to be real, and I'm not saying that I'm here for it, but it's just what I predict will happen. So that's my shout for that one. But then the most important game of Friday night, the battle for the bridge, Giants versus Swans. I'm tipping us on our form and on the fact that we're a better side on paper than Sydney, and that we need to win this to continue our push for finals. However, I'm not saying it with a whole lot of confidence. We have a shit record against Sydney in these clash games. I think they've won the last 5 in a row. Like we just don't match up well against them. And I don't think it's like a player list quality thing. I don't think it's even a game styles thing. I think we just crash under that weird pressure. I don't know. Yeah, I think they've just got this weird matchup against us where they seem to do really well. Now I'm tipping against it. I'm tipping that we will be able to overcome and overpower them. My fingers are really crossed with that one, but I hope we can put together something compelling. That's just That's the challenge, really. Sydney will be looking to scalp us big time, and it could definitely derail and fuck up our season. So interesting matchup, and I'm a little bit nervous for sure, but I am gonna lead us in just a self-confidence booster. Really, just come on, surely we get it done. Surely. Then we got fucking more of the clashes. We got the Q clash with Brisbane and Gold Coast. I'm gonna go Brisbane here. It happened last time. They kind of just big broed them. I think was the a little broed them. I don't know how the fuck the phrase works. Whatever the saying is, they kind of just like said, hey, remember that we're the more established team here. We're a bit more professional than you. With this recent run of, you can say recent run, this one game run of form that the Suns have been on, and Brisbane, you know, they look solid. I can't tip away from the Lions here. I'd like Gold Coast to win. I think that's what my heart wants, but my head sort of just thinks the Lions get this done. But I'm expecting a pretty good game of footy. You'd expect both teams to come out trying to prove something, which usually leads to like intense, interesting games. And then we got the derby at fucking Optus Stadium between the Dockers and the Eagles. The Dockers aren't going to lose this. Again, not when it matters like this, not when they're fighting for finals and they're in the best form that they're in. This is probably, like last week was one of their best wins all year. It was easily their best win all year. Potentially their best win in a couple years. That was some fucking footy that you don't think is very possible from that club very often. And then you see it and you go, oh shit, why the fuck don't you just play like this all the time? But yeah, I don't see them losing to the Eagles here. If the Eagles couldn't beat Richmond, I don't really see how they beat Freo. That's kind of just the simple maths of it all. North and Geelong at Marvel. Geelong are going to win that one. Again, sorry North, you fucking sorry North. I got nothing, sorry North. The showdown between Adelaide and Port. This would be really fun if Jason Horne-Francis was here. These games are really fun in general, and you know it'll be interesting. It'll be fun. But similar to my reasoning for Freo, I just don't see Adelaide ruining this one, losing and ruining their chances for the end of the year. This is like just get it done games. You know what I mean? You just got to get these done, and I think the Crows are good enough to do it. I think the Crows are good enough to do it in their sleep at the moment. Their form is just crazy. Port are pretty battered up. Kenny seems definitely checked out, so kind of hoping this is just a question of how much, really. How much for the Crows, but you know, you never know. Then 2 games on Sunday. We've got the Pies and Richmond at the MCG. You know, I'm gonna tip the Pies. Richmond make it interesting for 1.5 quarters. That's my tip. The first quarter and a half, Richmond get out. Maybe 3 goals out in front, but Collingwood scrape it back. Collingwood get this done. Again, professional unit versus very young, fun team. You just gotta lean with the professional unit, especially at this time of the year. Then to close out the round, we actually have a pretty interesting game between the Saints and Melbourne. Melbourne lost their most recent outing to St Kilda due to inaccuracy. I remember it. I think they were playing up in Darwin or some shit like that. But for, you know, as much as I've liked what Melbourne have been putting forward, I think that the Saints get this done. I don't know why. I've just got a gut feeling. I could probably blabber on about fucking like bullshit reasons that I think really confirm it 100% or whatever the fuck, but I can't be fucked doing that. I'm too tired. I'm gonna go have a nap. My nose is blocked. I'm sleepy. I'm sickly. I'm fucking pissed off, man. I'm fucking pissed off. I don't know why. Life's been good. Life's been real good. I think that's something interesting about humans, is our tendency to like quickly acclimate to situations and resort to a state of like bitterness or uncontemptness, when in reality we've got nothing to complain about at all. We live the most blessed lives of any beings throughout any period of time, so we should really stop complaining about anything. But that does not stop my brain from flooding with me with negative thoughts and emotions about the current and climate of the world. Current climate, not current and climate. I'm gonna currently climb into bed and have a sleep.